Alright, I am going to make a super grilled chicken veggie soup. Now I love soups. This is something I know I can eat and really not that bad for you even if I eat a lot of it. Obviously it's mostly veggies. The chicken, super lean. We're just going to grill it. No sauce or anything on it. Really the only thing bad for you is the sodium, and I got reduced sodium chicken broth. I've got 3 big jugs of it here. Now even the reduced or the low sodiums, they're not going to be that good for you. This has 24% of your daily recommended, and that's about half of the regular chicken broth. So I'm not going to add any salt to it. I'll salt to taste when I put it in the bowl, and I may not need anything. Anyway, I've never done this before, this particular recipe. I've done a lot of soups, and I make a killer, I mean spot on, Olive Garden Zuppa Toscana. One of my favorite soups to make, but unfortunately that's made with really good fatty sausage and heavy cream, and so won't be making that anytime soon. But anyway, I know the proportions, and this has a lot of the same stuff going into it. I love kale, especially in soups, so we're going to be using this whole bunch. Russet potatoes, I'm going to be slicing these fairly big. I want nice bites of potato. They're going to be thin slices, but I'm just going to be having these and then slicing them that way. You can leave the skin on if you want to. I'm going to be taking some of it off. I like it, about half peeled. So what I do is basically a half or a quarter, depending on the shape, peel, and then I'll split it and then do the slices. I've got 3 sweet onions here, and these are just going to be coarsely chopped. We've got a big pack of thickly sliced mushrooms. Love mushrooms. I've got a bunch of celery here that I'm going to be chopping up fairly coarsely. Same thing with a bunch of carrots. I'll probably only use half of these carrots. I'm not real big on carrots in the soup, and I don't want them to take over. So just probably should have gotten a smaller one, but it was like 50 cents, and I can eat these carrots and something else. And the chicken was the only expensive thing. These are $3.79 a pound. These are like the mid-grade. They have more expensive ones that are thin sliced, and I really don't care about that. We're just going to be chunking these into bite-sized chunks. So all you have to do is get lean chicken, get whatever is cheap. And that should be it. So now I've got a lot of prep to do, and then we'll start cooking. Alright, I've got all my veggies prepped. Got my celery, my carrots, my kale, my potatoes, my onions, all chopped up. So now I'm going to start the chicken. And I'm going to do it right in the soup pot. I am going to grab my knife here. I'm going to kick this up, and I'm going to slice the chicken into bite-sized cubes and then cook it up that way, just because it'll be faster with more surface area. Alternatively, you could do these whole. If I was doing a smaller batch, I could even do these like on my George Foreman. That would be pretty quick. But since I'm doing a big batch here, I'm going to trim off the little fat bits that I see. Not really concerned about getting every little last piece of chicken in here because I've got a ton of it. Got almost 4 pounds of chicken going in here. So I'll get this trimmed up, cubed up. Just going to do little pieces like this, 1/2 inch or so, without chopping my fingers off. I'm just going to put about a couple teaspoons of vegetable oil to fry this up in. That looks like good sized chunks right there. So, just good bite-sized chunks. Get all these done and move on to the veggies. Alright, chicken's all chopped in the pan, getting nice and seared up. We're going to fully cook it in here, and then we're going to set it aside. And what I want to do while this is going is add a few cloves worth of garlic. I'm a big garlic lover. If you aren't, skip it. I like getting these jars of minced garlic. I really can't tell the difference between doing it fresh and using this. It's absolutely delicious. Very convenient and very inexpensive, especially if you buy it at Sam's Club or Costco or any of the large food places. So we're going to let this cook up and then we'll continue on. Now we're all cooked and most of the excess moisture is boiled off. So I'm going to go ahead and put this into a separate pan here off the heat, and it's going to sit until we're done. We're going to add this near the end, let it soak up some of the flavors. Just going to dump the little rest of liquid in there. Now we're going to do our onions and mushrooms. We're just going to put them straight in, and we're going to cook until they're nice and soft and translucent. Real simple. I like to give the onions a little bit of a head start. We do have a lot more of those than the mushrooms, but they do go pretty quickly. You'll see them cook down. Mushrooms and onions, man, they shrink like 2/3 in size because they're mostly water. So these will become translucent and soft, shrink way down. You just want to make sure that you're stirring them, because until they start to loosen up and get their moisture out, you can burn them pretty easily. Get them all broken up here. Oh man, it smells good. It's smelling like a Chinese restaurant. Alright. Now we can put in our mushrooms. Break up chunks here. And you can see I just chopped these in half and then sliced them. Really nothing special to it. I'm going to turn the heat down to about a medium-high. Put in our mushrooms. You just want to stir them constantly. Should only take about 10 minutes to get them where you want them. So you can see that half a pot worth of veggies, the onions and the mushrooms, went down to basically nothing. Almost all the water's out. You want to cook it, if you're doing the mushrooms, until they're nice and tender. Or if you're just doing the onions, until they're just like string onions. You don't want them to start falling apart, but you want them completely soft and translucent. This is about what we want. So now we're going to put in our chicken broth and bring this to a boil. We got the heat on high. Like I said, I'm using the reduced sodium. I'll taste it at the end, see how much salt I need to put in. I'm sure I'll have to put some in, but I want this to heat up, get the veggies in, and cook for a little bit before I get a real good taste for it. We are going to put in some pepper, and I think I'm going to add some more garlic to it. We'll see. Like I said, I'm a big garlic fan, so can't have too much garlic. Alright, so this needs to come to a boil. I'm going to cover it, and in about 5 minutes it should be at a boil, and we're going to put in our veggies, except for the kale. That is going to go in last. But the potatoes and the celery and the carrots, those all need to cook. Alright, so I'm going to leave this go, put a cover on it, and as soon as it starts to boil, we'll continue on. Just starting to boil here. Time to put in the veggies. I should say the rest of the veggies. Most of the veggies. In go the potatoes. Now you are going to need to stir this every few minutes because these potatoes like to sink to the bottom and start to stick. So I want to break them up, make sure they're not chunked together. And we'll put in our carrots. Same deal there. And our celery. I'm going to take a little taste test of this broth. Just see what we're working with as far as salt. See if I want to put any in right now with the pepper. Yep, definitely want to add a little bit. Just going to put in a couple teaspoons worth. And pepper to taste. There we go. Give it a quick little stir here. We're going to cover it and let this go overall about 20 minutes, just enough to cook the potatoes. And like I said, come back every few minutes and just give it a quick stir. And then we'll be ready for the kale. It's just about done. I should mention that halfway through, turn the heat down to a simmer. It'll still be a gentle boil because it's covered. This is what it looks like halfway through. Man, does the house smell good. It smells like Thanksgiving. It smells like homemade stuffing. It's probably the celery and the carrots and the onions. Delicious. So I want things to soften up more. You can test your veggies and stuff. You can see that carrots aren't quite spoon mushy yet. So we're going to keep going until they are, until the potatoes are nice and soft too. Really can't overcook it, so don't worry about that too much. Potatoes look like they're about done, so I'm just going to keep going until the carrots are done. Won't be too much longer. Another 10 minutes at the most. Then what we're going to do is just put in our chicken and put in our kale. I'm probably not going to do all of the kale. What I did is I separated that whole bunch, so I'll have some to use, but I'll probably put in about half of this for this stock here. And then we're just going to leave that. We're going to turn it off, turn the heat off. We're just going to leave that set for about 10 minutes just to soften up the kale, bring the chicken up to temp, let the flavors sit and melt. But those don't need to cook, so we don't need the heat on. So we're going to let this go for another 10 minutes, get those carrots nice and tender, and we'll almost be done. Alright. Carrots should be nice and tender. Let's give them a check. Yep, squishes right in. Sweet. Now, time to put in the chicken. And our kale. Basically, I'm going to top the pot off, get in as much kale as I can. Not worried about having to use all of it. It is plenty. I just want to make sure I don't have any really huge chunks. I just roughly tore it off the stems. You only want to use the real leafy parts. And I did wash it off in the sink under running water before I took it off. Turn my heat off here. This is going to stay piping hot for about an hour sitting in this pot. It's a very large pot. Alright. Get some more in here. This really is a beautiful vegetable to use in soups especially. Maintains a little bit of a crunch. Has almost a fresh minty flavor. It's not real overpowering. I'm not huge on a lot of green vegetables. Maybe I will get the whole thing in here. But this is one that I can chow down on. No problemo. It's especially good in soups with meat. That's why it goes so well in that zuppa toscana. Alright. There we go. I guess it is mostly air. So, I'm just going to mix this in, let it set, good 10 minutes, let all the flavors come together, let the chicken heat up, let the kale soften, but you don't need the heat on, don't need to boil it or anything like that anymore. Just residual heat is more than enough. And after 10 minutes goes by, get back here, carrot. Ooh, hot, hot, hot. After 10 minutes goes by, we'll be ready to plate it. Alright, there we go. Put the lid back on here and almost time to eat. Okay, the moment of truth. Everything should be good to go. Smells really good. I'm going to do a little taste test of the broth here. See how much more seasoning I may want. That's really close. Yeah, I'm just going to put a sprinkle on each bowl, I think. That's pretty much like a Progresso out of the can as far as the seasoning level. Alright, that's good. Alright, I really need to get a big ladle. Get some chicken, get some veggies, get some of this awesome broth going. Alright, that looks good. So there you go. There is my homemade garlic chicken super veggie soup. That's a good name. Looks good, smells good. Good for you. See you guys next time.